there is a story that a very famous pianist, Arturo Benedetti Michelangelo, was asked, "Can you play the famous Tchaikovsky concert? I mean, it's a concerto with the orchestra." He was offered the performance, and he said, "I will need 5 years to prepare for that." So it's a process, and the thing that I've learned most about this process is it takes time. Beethoven is a very deep and profound and philosophical piece. And I thought, that I feel that a recital should also have a lot of contrast so as to keep the interest in the music also alive. And
True.
the mono programs are very heavy for the audiences. So I decided to have a varied program. So that's why I'm giving this kind of element. In Russia, of course, I had my basic training also, in the sense that, of course, my teachers in India were just marvelous at that time. So I had this kind of marvelous upbringing through my two great teachers, my two great Indian teachers, um, Miss Farida Dubash and Miss Firoza Dubash Labon.
All right. Western classical music at its best on This Week at the NCPA. 26th of November at the Experimental Theatre, 7 p.m. comes Pervez Mody with his piano recital. It's Beethoven Sonata number 17, Tempest, and there's a lot more on the program. And I'm going to lead Pervez Mody into this conversation. Mumbai born, now based in Germany, a renowned pianist praised for his intensity, his expressive depth, and his technical mastery. Pervez, how nice to talk to you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are
Pervez,
you?
I'm very well.
Yeah.
It must warm the cockles of your heart, being a Mumbai born pianist, to come back to Mumbai and to play at the Mecca of them all, the NCPA. Talk about that feeling first.
Yeah, I mean to say, it's always wonderful to play for the home audience, as I call it. So yes, it is wonderful to play in at the NCPA. Yeah.
And would you agree with me when I say that the audience members are well informed, passionate, and knowledgeable, which is very rare to find, that combination?
Yes, you are right. The audience is very interested also, and they are always very supportive, and they are a very warm audience normally. I mean to say, what I have experienced at the NCPA, it is always wonderfully organized, and it's most of the time really a wonderful experience, even for the artists, to perform there at the NCPA.
Lovely. Okay, let's come to Beethoven Sonata number 17, Tempest. I believe you're presenting a complete Beethoven cycle, and this must be very close to your heart.
Well, yes, I mean to say, the cycle is actually, after Corona, it is very difficult to catch up on the cycle because of the pandemic. It was really
Yeah.
very difficult. So now I'm starting to sort of come back to the cycle. Yes, you are right. Yeah.
Yeah, so talk to me about this particular piece on the program that you're presenting.
Well, the Tempest Sonata actually is a work that was written in the sort of period of time that Beethoven was experiencing a lot of torture and pain. So, because of his growing deafness, as we all know, so he was, even contemplating at one time suicide. So you can well imagine the torment he was going through. So this piece has been written, I mean to say, as a very deep piece, naturally, and as most of Beethoven is. So it is actually the title of the piece, the Tempest, actually comes from the story of Beethoven telling someone who asked him, "How should we interpret this piece?" And he said, "Well, then read The Tempest from the Shakespeare." That's how it happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Grieg, Norwegian composer, who I believe is quite the man for combining Western classical music with elements of folk. And you're presenting
Yes.
7 pieces from lyric pieces. So I'd
Yes,
like you to
that's right.
talk us through
Yeah.
that, please.
So that's a kind of, how should I say, that's a contrast to Beethoven, because Beethoven is a very deep and profound and philosophical piece, and I thought that I feel that a recital should also have a lot of contrast, so as to keep the interest in the music also alive.
True.
And the mono programs are very heavy for the audiences, so I decided to have a varied program. So that's why I'm giving this kind of element, a folk element to the program, also through Greek, and also there are elements of also fairy tale moments. It's not just folk music; it's also fairy tale music, as you will see from the titles of the pieces.
Now, a very important pianist and conductor of the Romantic period was Liszt. He was Hungarian, and this is really incredible, isn't it, Parvez? I mean, you would know better than I that this is 6 decades of incredible work that Liszt has done. One of
Yeah.
the most influential composers of this era. And it's a tribute to his work that, pianists like you continue to widely perform and record works from Liszt. And I'm very happy that you're doing Sonata in B minor. So
Yes.
talk to us about that.
Well, the sonata in B minor is work written by Liszt after a lot of, I mean, it's a contemplation after he had written his Faust Symphony. Um, and this work is a huge work which has elements of all the music that was there before. I mean, to say it has the elements of the Baroque music, which is there in the fugue inside, and it has elements of the classic kind of construction of the piece, and it also has um, a very sort of romantic feel to the whole piece also, through all its fireworks of cadenzas and recitatives and all kinds of very very subtle romantic, here also expressive kind of playing, also not only virtuoso playing. It is also a very deep piece because it deals, according to me, with the tragedy of mankind. As I say, I always call the piece the prologue and epilogue. I mean, to say the birth and death of the mankind, and that's why this piece is very close to my heart.
I believe that, over your extensive career, you've recorded some very acclaimed pieces by Scriabin. And even though you're not performing it for this particular one, I'd like you to delve into that just a little bit, please.
Actually, I came to know about Scriabin when I studied in Moscow with my Russian teacher, and she was very renowned Scriabin performer and pianist, and she sort of inspired me to sort of discover this composer. Actually, it was like this, that I hadn't played any Scriabin up till then when I entered into the Moscow Conservatoire, and it was quite a revelation because the music was very close to me, because as you must be knowing, Scriabin was very very um, he was very impressed, and he was very influenced by the Orient culture, and through that kind of feeling I came closer to the music of Scriabin, and I decided to record the entire work of Scriabin. So that's the whole idea of the sort of situation. Actually, it's it was actually quite a spontaneous idea, that why not record the whole works of Scriabin, because I love Scriabin, and also because I sort of understand his kind of music also, and I was taught by my wonderful teacher, who sort of gave me this base, as I call it, to understanding Scriabin. Yeah.
And you're going to finish your performance with the American pianist and composer Gottschalk. And
Gottschalk.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I believe that this was a young man who left his native Louisiana, came to Europe, and became phenomenally popular all over Europe.
Yes.
So, just a little bit about the composer, and uh, unfortunately, I believe lots of his compositions have been destroyed. So, the ones that remain, why did you pick this particular one?
Well, as I always say, the program has to be full of contrasts. So after
Mhm.
this heavyweight list, I wanted to lighten the atmosphere of the program, and so I decided to have the last two pieces as a kind of feeling of letting go or being free and something very different from the majestic list. So I decided to put these two at the end of the program so that the audience has some kind of very different feel in the music also. Now, I also decided to put Gottschalk after Liszt because you see, they are all in one kind of era in that sense
Mm.
because they knew each other also and they were very famous virtuosos in their time. So this is one of the reasons, and the next reason is also because I just adore the African in music. And as you will hear in the pieces of Gottschalk, there is a lot of Afro American culture. So that's something
Creole,
that,
Creole, Creole
yeah,
music,
Creole.
perhaps. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Creole culture. Yes. So I just adore that music. And that's why I also put this into the program because I just love the music. And that's why I decided to play these two pieces after the Liszt Sonata.
How wonderful. Now, for those of you who are watching, listening, Pervez Mody performs internationally as a soloist and a chamber musician, notably with violinist Isabel Steinbach as
Yeah.
Duo Appassionata.
Yes.
Lovely. Duo
Yeah.
Appassionata. I'd like
Yeah.
you to tell us a little bit about that collab.
Yeah. Well, actually, we've done a lot of work together. And at the moment, we are in a kind of a pause because I believe that we need to have also pauses in our creative, sort of
Sure.
energy. So we are just now pausing our sort of chamber music stuff at the moment. But at the same time, we have done a lot of repertoire together. We have done all the Beethoven sonatas, we have done all the Brahms sonatas, all the Mendelssohn sonatas. We have sort of also done lots of very not so often played music um, from Still. This is an American composer also, for example, or Doniani, and and of course we also have the big works like, for example, the Frank Sonata, the Cesar Frank Sonata also. But at the same time, we've played a lot together and we've had some very interesting work together also. Yes, because I believe that chamber music also makes you a better musician as a soloist, even because you start listening a lot more than when you are always alone at the piano.
Pervez, you studied in Moscow, in Russia,
Yes,
and then you spent some time studying in Germany, where you now live.
yes,
So the Tchaikovsky Conservatory in Moscow, and then the University of Music in Karlsruhe.
yeah.
I'm just intrigued with musicians, and what goes into the making of a musician. Did you enjoy your time in Russia, Germany? Which more so? Just a little about those wonder years.
It was always very interesting to live and study in a different country, especially after Mumbai. All of a sudden, you come to Moscow. It's quite a culture shock at the moment. But at the same time, I really enjoyed my studies in both the countries. In Moscow, there was a different kind of an atmosphere. And in Germany, there was a different kind of atmosphere. I mean, to say each one has his or its own kind of, flair, as I call it. So I can't say that one is better than the other in that sense. Each one has its fortes, and sort of, it was a very interesting time also, especially in Moscow, because I landed there in '87, and I finished in '94. So I studied there exactly when the perestroika was there, and after that, the democratic movement was there from
Sure.
Yeltsin. So
Glasnost and
yeah,
Perestroika.
so yeah, and
Correct.
after that, we have this different era. So it was a very interesting time. And yes, I have to say that in Russia, of course, I had my basic training also, in the sense that, of course, my teachers in India were just marvelous at that time. So I had this kind of marvelous upbringing through my two great teachers, my two great Indian teachers, um, Miss Farida Dubash and Miss Firoza Dubash Labon. So I was very fortunate to have these wonderful teachers in India who prepared me for the Moscow experience, as I call it. And later on, of course, in Germany, there was a lot of work to be done with more kind of introspective work. As an artist, I started to sort of, reflect on many things that I learned in Moscow. Because you see, as an artist, you do not always imbibe all the things that are told to you immediately. There needs to be a certain amount of time. There is a story that a very famous pianist, Arturo Benedetti Michelangeli, was asked, "Can you play the famous Tchaikovsky concert? I mean, this is a concerto with the orchestra." He was offered the performance, and he said, "I will need 5 years to prepare for that." So it's a process, and the thing that I've learned most about this process is it takes time. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of reflection also, and most of all, it is a kind of perseverance if you want to be a pianist. Yeah.
There you have it. Pervez Mody, a piano recital on the 26th of November at the Experimental Theatre, 7 p.m. Tickets are live now at Book My Show. It's an NCPA presentation. Please go get your tickets at Book My Show or visit ncpamumbai.com. Any memorable performance of the NCPA that you yourself have had or you've had the privilege of witnessing?
The one that comes to mind the most with me was there was a pianist by the name of Paul Badura Skoda, and he was very, very impressive, and he really made a big impression on me when I heard him at that
Wow.
time. Yes. So this is one of the memorable performances that I remember very well. Yes.
Thank you very much, Pervez. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
94.3 Radio 1.